Hello everyone. I'm not sure if you can see me. Let me know if you can see me. My stream preview shows nothing, but it says I'm live. How's it going, everybody? It's great to see ya. If you can see or hear me. It says I'm streaming, but at the same time, my preview shows absolutely nothing. So I'm hoping I'm actually live. Let me know in chat. If you can hear or see this, let me know in chat. Sorry, bit of a rough start to the stream here. Let's see. Can you guys see me? Okay, it says you guys can see me. All right, sweet. I can't see myself at all. So if any issues start happening with the stream, just let me know in chat. Usually I stream through YouTube Studio. I'll show you a little preview about what's going on. Right now it shows me nothing. It just shows a black screen and it says an error. So hopefully everything holds up fine today. How are you doing, everybody? I'm a little out of breath. I literally just got done lifting like seconds ago. I think we got a good chat today. I'm already seeing chat pretty filling up with questions already super early. And that doesn't surprise me too much because we actually have some pretty big topics to talk about if you're into video game sales and that sort of thing, which, you know, I think the people that come to watch my streams mostly are pretty clued into the sales side of the industry. And boy, do we have some juicy, interesting topics that we can talk about in regards to that. You know, last week we talked about Xbox being down, right? That was like a big discussion topic because we had gotten the Xbox numbers before any of the other platform holders. Xbox came first with Microsoft, and there was a whole bunch of discussion about that. And since then, we've had now Sony's report, we've had Nintendo's report, and we've also had some data out of Mpd in the US. So we're getting more and more information, and it wasn't just Xbox that was down, it was everybody. The video game industry showed some pretty significant, in certain areas, declines. So we can talk about that today. We can talk about what that means. Should people be worried? Should people think, it's okay? You know, we can go into all of that. Don't worry, I'm going to preview and give you the data, the numbers for each one of these reports really fast before we get to your questions. So that way we have some context around it. But that can be a pretty big topic that we can talk about today. We got a whole bunch of numbers, which you guys know I love numbers, and I think some of you guys like numbers too. So we got some of that we can dig into, and any other topics that you guys want to talk about today, right? We don't just have to talk about the things that I highlight at the top of the stream. We can talk about whatever you want. So if this is your first time ever as part of my live chat, the way this works, it's a stream, it's a show, it's 100% driven by you, your comments, your questions. You just drop them into chat and we break down the latest and greatest news in the video game industry. There's going to be two ways to do that. First of all, of course, there's the free method. You just type a question, whatever you want, it pops into chat, and I get to as many free questions as I possibly can. If you want to guarantee that I get to your question, the way to do that's going to be the super chat option. You just type a donation, whatever you want. It alerts me and I get to super chats immediately. Don't feel pressured or obligated to donate into chat. It's just a way to help support me in the channel and also guarantee that I get to your question. I can already tell, just as a warning, and this isn't a super chat thing, I can already tell I might not be getting to all of the questions today, so start filling chat now. If you're here and you have a question, drop it now because there's already a lot of questions in chat. So, you know, if people coming in late, dropping questions late, it might be hard to get to your question today. All right, let's talk about first these numbers, okay? And then we're going to go into your comments and questions. So the first one that came out after Microsoft, right? We heard about Microsoft being down last week. The next one that we got that's a platform holder, we got from Sony. And this caused all kinds of controversy online because of one particular data point here. And I'm sure you guys know it, but I'm going to tell you what it is. So first of all, these were their results. They shipped 2.4 million PlayStation 5s for the quarter. And PlayStation 5 now lifetime is at 21.7 million. It's still behind PlayStation 4 launch aligned. You know, we know that PlayStation 5 started off so strong, started out ahead of PlayStation 4, but due to shortages, you know, it fell behind PlayStation 4. And as of now, it is still behind PS4, and it's still going to be for a little while. There's a chance that they can make up this ground maybe starting next year they can start to gain back ground, but it's still going to be a while before they can start to match the pace that PS4 was on. But fingers crossed that things improve and they can start to gain that ground back. Now, they shipped 47.1 million units of software, 6.4 million first-party games. I'll be honest, not a super impressive number, which is a little surprising, but it's not like it's like mind-blowingly terrible or anything, but it is a little bit weak for this quarter, to be honest, especially considering some of the big releases we had last quarter carrying over into this one, and that covers all software, right? It's not just their new releases, it's all first-party, so that's not a great number, to be honest with you. 79% digital software ratio, very high on digital software, extremely high. 47.3 million PlayStation Plus subscribers, 102 million monthly active users. Revenue decreased 2%, which isn't that big of a deal. That's a very tiny decline. That's nothing to be alarmed at. It's just it's 2%, not a big deal. Here's the one, though, that got people all up in arms and panicking online. Profit decreased a massive 37%. Now, that's not good. Having a profit decrease at all isn't great because it means you're earning less money, right? It's not revenue. This is your profit margins. So you never want that to really be going down and to decline by basically over a third, right? 37%. Not great. Sony highlighted a few of the reasons for this. They talked about how, the price of developing games, it's just going up. It's becoming more expensive on them. I'm sure that part of this is gearing up for PlayStation VR 2. We know that's right around the corner. They haven't set a date, but I think we all expect that to be very early next year, considering how much they're already talking about it this year. So I'm sure R&D and getting games ready for PSVR 2 is probably a big part of this. I'm sure they're not spending hardly any money on that. So that's probably a factor, as well as, other things as well. So those are your Sony numbers. Next out of the gate, we had Nintendo. And even the mighty Nintendo is not immune, y'all. Even Nintendo's not immune to the declines. So here's Nintendo's results. Still good, by the way. So whenever I say they're not immune, it doesn't mean all of a sudden, it's a catastrophe. It just means the whole industry's down right now. Nintendo's results, 3.43 million Switches were shipped. It's now at 111 million units lifetime. Incredible. It's going to outsell the PlayStation 4 lifetime this year. That's right. This year, Switch will surpass PS4. It's not going to happen in this next reported quarter, right? So this one that we're talking about right now is the one that ended June 30th. Next one will cover July, August, September. They won't close that gap that quarter, but they will close it over the holidays and the next reported quarter after that. So next year, whenever they report the holiday quarter, Switch will officially pass PlayStation 4 in lifetime sales. Pretty incredible, and it's already at 111 million now. Then we got some software data points. Nintendo Switch Sports, 4.84 million. That's a great result in my opinion. Very good. Already at almost 5 million. This is going to guaranteed sell over 10 million. Probably might even get into that 15 million range. We need to see how it does during the holiday season. But, 10 million, it's a lock. It's going to pass 10 million considering it's already at almost 5. And I won't be surprised at all if this goes to do 15 million or more in the long run. But we need to see how it performs over the holidays. But I could see Switch Sports being a very big holiday game with gift givers. Mario Strikers Battle League, 1.91 million for its launch, and that's the biggest launch for a Mario sports title. So very, very good result there, to be honest with you. Bigger than any of the sports games. Kirby and the Forgotten Land is at 4.53 million, and according to Nintendo, it has the highest sell-through of any Kirby game ever. Now, there's one, I can't remember which one it might be. It might be Dreamland or something that has a higher shipped number, but that game also is so old, it was a very, very long time ago, that I'm not sure if Nintendo has accurate sell-through data for that far back, so that might be why they're calling Kirby and the Forgotten Land a higher sell-through. It might just be that data is so old that even though they might know what they shipped, they might not know exactly what the sell-through was, but out of data that they know, Kirby and the Forgotten Land already, that game only came out in March, the highest sell-through ever for a Kirby game, according to Nintendo themselves. Hardware, though, this is the alarming point. And again, don't panic about it, but I'm sure there's gonna be a lot of questions about this. This is what we're talking about, how, the industry as a whole's down. Hardware fell 22.9%. That's a very big decline in hardware. Very, very, very big. Now, it's still in the grand scheme of things, if you look at how much a console normally sells during this time period, it's still a very high number. It just shows you, like we've been talking about on this chat, Switch is 100% past its peak, and it's past its peak by a pretty good margin. I'm sure there's going to be some questions about the successor today, considering some of the reports that are coming out, and we can talk about that in just a second. Software even fell as well. Software sales were down 8.6%. Not a gigantic decline, nothing like crazy, but it did fall 8.6%. So even Nintendo is not immune. And then here's the last data point I'm going to give you before we get to your questions. We also got a report out of Mpd, which just backs up everything that we're talking about right now. In regards to the US market, total consumer spending dropped 13%. Mobile dropped 12%. Hardware down 1%, so that's actually a pretty good thing to see. That hardware, yeah, it's declined in the US, but just barely, 1%. Very, very small decline. So that's actually good to see. That's a pretty good number. Accessories down 11%, and the only category that saw growth, this is important, the only category that saw growth was subscriptions, and subscriptions were up 15%. All right, everyone, so that's your data points there. I'm going to start diving into your comments and questions, but now you have context around everything, and let's start talking about these declines, what it means, people should be worried, all of that good stuff. All right. Timmer here, kicking us off with a super chat. Thank you so much, Timmer. You do not got to do a super chat, man. I remember you saying that you weren't going to be able to do much this summer, but I very much appreciate it. You absolutely do not have to do that, so let me read that really quick. 1 second. All right. Timmer with a 5 here. Benji, what are your thoughts on Tencent increasing its stake in Ubisoft? Yeah, this is going to be a big story, potentially. Plus Quakecon Expectations, plus keep being awesome. You keep being awesome as well, Timmer. Okay, am I surprised at the reports that are coming out that Tencent is trying to acquire more of a stake in Ubisoft? No, guys. If any of you have been watching this chat for, probably over a year now, I've been saying that Ubisoft is a prime candidate to be acquired. They are a prime candidate because they have a massive workforce, they own a ton of IP, and their market cap is not high. So if you buy them, you can get probably a pretty good deal because their market cap is not crazy. You get an enormous amount of workforce, which honestly, talent is very hard to get in the video game industry in general. So you're getting a ton of talent, a ton of established studios, a ton of workforce. They're like the biggest of the third-party publishers in terms of headcount of developers. They're enormous. And then you're getting all those IP that they own, all that Ghost Recon, Division, Watch Dogs, Rabbids, all of this stuff we could go over. They own tons and tons of IP. Rayman, you could go down the board. Splinter Cell, just tons and tons and tons. So, this isn't, to be clear, this isn't Tencent fully on acquiring Ubisoft right now. It's just upping their stake in them. But will I be surprised if we hear in the next year that Tencent fully buys Ubisoft? Wouldn't surprise me. Would I be surprised if I heard someone else fully acquires Ubisoft? No, I've been saying this for a long time. Ubisoft is primed to be acquired. Now, that doesn't mean it's 100% fact. That doesn't mean it's a lock. But am I surprised to see Tencent potentially starting to make some moves to go that direction? No. And don't be surprised if you hear in the next 12 to 24 months that somebody just straight up buys Ubisoft. Don't be surprised by that in any way, shape, or form. Quakecon Expectations, I'll be honest, not expecting much. I hate to say stuff like that, but QuakeCon to me doesn't feel like something that's going to get huge announcements. I hope I'm completely wrong. There's been all sorts of rumors about a Quake reboot potentially coming from Bethesda. I think that's probably a pretty good idea. We saw how successful they were with rebooting Doom. Might as well give Quake another shot as well. If you could do a full high quality Quake reboot as they did Doom, I think there's potential for it to be successful. Do I think it would be as big as Doom? I don't think so, because I think just the Doom brand is stronger than Quake in general. But I think it could be a very nice thing to have in your portfolio, especially if they want to take a break from Doom, which we don't know, right? We don't know. Maybe they are going to do a third Doom game next, but maybe they're kind of like, we want to take a break from Doom. Let's go to Quake. I think that could be successful. So maybe they could tease a Quake reboot there. Outside of that, though, my expectations aren't much, but that would be cool. That'd be very, very cool. And I think at some point, Quake probably gets a reboot. I think they'll try it at least once, since what they did with Doom, just to see if it can work. If it bombs, okay, Quake's done. But if you can successfully bring it back, hey, that's just another shooter in your portfolio. So thanks for that super chat, Timmer. Frostbite Slash here with a 10. Thank you so much, Frostbite Slash. I really appreciate that. That's very generous. And thank you for always being so supportive. Hi, Benji. Herman put out a tweet of him visiting Deviation Games. Their studio has pics of DualSenses all over their walls. I firmly believe they're primed for an acquisition similar to Haven. Thoughts? Yeah, I think that's probably inevitable if their game's good. You know, one thing that happened with Haven is I think that they were very impressed with what they saw out of Haven. You know, Haven's a brand new studio. They've never even released a game. But we got those reports from GameIndustry.biz whenever they were interviewing Jade Raymond. And Jade herself, like, flat out said that, my brain's not working, the system architect of PlayStation, Mark Cerny. She said how Mark Cerny was super impressed, and he's actually been kind of hands-on with them in regards to like some of the tech they're building and stuff. So if you're getting Mark Cerny's attention in that big of a degree and you're a brand new studio, I can see why Sony was so early to acquire Haven, because they were probably so impressed with the stuff they were doing. They didn't want to risk anything weird happening, right? Even if they were making an exclusive, potentially, I'm not saying this would have happened, but I'm saying someone else could still potentially buy them. And yeah, that game would still have had to be a PlayStation exclusive because contracts were signed. But if something crazy happened and some other publisher heard how good Haven is, and they were like, hey, before Sony can, we're going to make you a huge cash offer, buy. I get why Sony was so early on this. If they're really impressed, being like, okay, we got to get Haven right now before anything spirals out. So I have a feeling if Deviation, who's also a new studio, if their game also is really good, really successful, I agree with you, Frostbite. That seems like a prime candidate to get acquired by Sony as well. So keep your eyes on it. I agree with you, Frostbite. I could very much see that happening. I think that it might not be next. Sony might wait a little bit more to see what they're building. But I agree. I think that's a prime candidate. Them and you know what? I kept saying Ember Lab, but I don't know. The fact that still hasn't happened and everything's been kind of quiet, I don't know. I'm wondering if Ember Lab wants to remain independent, but we'll see. We'll see. Thank you for that super chat, Frostbite. Matt Duffy with a 2 super chat. Benji-Sales. Let's go. Let's go, Matt Duffy. Thank you for the super chat. Thank you for the hype. Thank you for always bringing me up and uplifting my spirits. Let's go, Matt Duffy. I hope you're doing good today too, buddy. Hope you're doing awesome, man. Timmer with a second super chat. Wow, that's very kind of you. Thank you, Timmer. 60 million Pokemon games were sold last year. Do you think they will top that this year? Plus thoughts on the brand doing 8.5 billion last year as well. Well, Pokemon's like bigger than it's ever been, which is absolutely crazy. We've talked about this on this chat before, but Pokemon was a big deal when I was a kid. And y'all, I'm in my what am I now? I guess I'm technically mid-30s now. And that when I was a kid was big. And it's still enormous. It's shocking. There are very few franchises that have the staying power like Pokemon does. Are there none? No, we've seen stuff like Star Wars. Look at how relevant Star Wars still is, and that's even older than Pokemon. But it's rare. You don't have many franchises and IP that just remain behemoths like this for decades and decades and decades. My daughter's going to grow up on Pokemon, and I grew up on Pokemon. It's crazy. So absolutely incredible result. Now, will they sell more than last year? Are you talking calendar or fiscal? If you're talking calendar year, this will have Arceus in it, and it will have Scarlet and Violet, but Scarlet and Violet are super late in the year. Plus, of course, you're still going to sell some copies of Sword and Shield and Let's Go and all that. Not a ton, but those games are still selling a bit. Man, I don't know. That's tough to say. Arceus's legs weren't the most impressive thing I've ever seen, to be honest. I was a little underwhelmed what Arceus did this last quarter because the launch was so big. The launch of Arceus was enormous, and didn't really have an amazing next quarter. Like, it didn't bomb or anything, but it wasn't like mind-blowing. But it is a spin-off, so as awesome as Arceus was, that is important to keep in mind. It is a spin-off. It's not a new generation. So I think Scarlet and Violet are going to be giant, Timmer. Huge. I thought that Pokemon Presents looked awesome. Like, I'm blown away with these games, to be honest. I think they'll be way bigger than Sword and Shield. I honestly do. I just think the games look way better than Sword and Shield, like in every way. Obviously, visually, they look better. It doesn't look like the most cutting-edge thing you've ever seen, but it is an improvement. And the gameplay, the world, going open world, I don't know. I feel like Scarlet and Violet are going to be very, very big. So do I know for sure if they'll sell more Pokemon games overall than last year? I'm not positive on that, Timmer, but I will, if you want just a Pokemon sales prediction, I predict that Scarlet and Violet will definitely be bigger than Sword and Shield. I really think they will be. All right. Christopher Davis here with a 5. Thank you so much, Christopher. What do you think about what Sony has said about Microsoft acquiring Activision Blizzard? And do you think Sony's scared? So I sent a tweet about this. So do I think Sony is scared? No. I think that they're hamming this up a little bit in court to try and block it from happening if they can. Because here's the thing. I sent out a tweet about this, and I was like, basically we found out from the Brazilian court, because they're so open, that the whole industry is basically okay with this, right? There was one thing that was a wonder. How does the rest of the industry feel like this? You've seen certain people tweet certain things, claiming certain things, but we have a pretty definitive answer now because they made outright statements to a court, and it's illegal to lie to a court, right? You got to be providing your actual what you believe about something. And they basically, everyone that was interviewed, which was like WB, Apple, Google, whole bunch of companies, I think EA was in there even, a ton of them, they were all basically just like, it's fine, like in different varying degrees, but none of them gave the impression that they particularly cared, which to me isn't too shocking. If you're a third-party publisher, I'm not sure why you would actually care if Activision gets acquired by anyone or not, because, hey, potentially, if some of those games go exclusive to Xbox, that might give you more of an opportunity for some of your own franchises to break out more, being multi-platform. So there's that. And then secondly, it doesn't really impact them, right? If you're EA, does Activision being third party or exclusive, will that negatively impact, right? Will Activision going to a platform holder suddenly tank your business? No, probably in terms of negative impact, it's probably almost zero, right? Probably, I really can't think of many scenarios where that would hurt you. So I see why if you're a third party, you're kind of just like, yeah, who cares? Like, I don't really care if Activision gets bought by Microsoft, Sony, who cares? Anybody can buy them. So that part doesn't surprise me. And I'm also not surprised that Sony is the one who is trying to fight this. Because if anyone is going to be negatively impacted by this, it is Sony, right? And we don't know that it will have a huge negative impact. But if you're just looking down the road, if you're looking in the future, who has the potential to have the most negative impact from this, it's absolutely Sony. So it makes perfect sense that Sony's being the one who's trying to be like, hey, don't let this happen, right? I mean, it's just responsible. If you are a business, if you are Sony, your responsibility is to negatively... If I worked for Sony, I'd be fighting this. I'm telling you that right now. If I was at Sony and they were having... I'm not, right? I'm not in any way talented or in the position to work for Sony. But I'm just saying, if for some crazy reason I was, yeah, I'd be putting my foot down being like, we got to do everything we can to try to make this not happen. So do I think they're outright scared? No, I think that's too strong of a word. Are they potentially concerned? I would say yes. Those are different things. I know they sound similar, but scared implies a form of like panic. I really doubt that Sony is panicking over this because the word is Call of Duty is going to stay multi-platform. Now, I do think that Call of Duty being day one on Game Pass will affect things. Outright, flat out, yes, I do. Even if those Call of Duty games are still on PlayStation, if you're a huge Call of Duty fan and you now know, hey, if I buy an Xbox every single year, I don't have to buy Call of Duty. I can just get it on Game Pass, and trust me on this, Microsoft is going to have Game Pass benefits for Call of Duty as well. They're going to have things like if you're a subscriber, you're going to get exclusive weapon skins or camos or whatever. Trust me, that's 1,000,000% going to happen. So could that impact some people's purchasing decisions to go with Xbox? Yes, outright yes. I'm telling you it can. But is it one of those things that's just like outright Sony's doomed because of it? I really do not think so. I would think this would be way more concerning if Call of Duty was fully exclusive. I mean, if it was going fully exclusive, I can tell you at least in the United States, this would be a disaster for Sony. It would be an outright disaster, and it would hurt them very, very bad. But it's still going to be on PlayStation from all of the reports from Phil Spencer and Microsoft themselves. So scared, I think that's a little strong. I think Sony is hamming things up a little bit to try and block as much as possible. But do I think that they are concerned? Yes. Yeah, they should be concerned, to be honest with you. It's a giant game, a franchise that's going to have benefits on their rival. It's going to influence purchasing decisions to some degree. It is going to lift Game Pass subscriptions to a huge degree, I think. I think Game Pass subs soar as soon as you see the first Call of Duty hit this service. So yeah, I mean, it's going to have big industry impacts. But, you know, Sony has some things that they can do as well. They did buy Bungie. We don't know, maybe Bungie, you know, they have said that they are like under the Sony umbrella, but they're sticking to multi-platform development as well. But again, whatever that new IP is, trust me, there will be benefits to playing it on PlayStation. So there's things they can do. But concerned, yes. Yeah, I would say they're definitely concerned, and they should be. Frostbite Slash here with a 5 super chat. Thank you so much, Frostbite. That's your second one. What do you think will happen at WB? This is a fascinating topic. I'm glad someone asked because we need to dive into this because I have some thoughts. I have some thoughts, guys, on what's going to happen with WB Games. Let me tell you. What do you think will happen to WB? I believe their gaming division may be in jeopardy, and the most recent showing of Gotham Knights was not encouraging. Here's what I can tell you, straight up Frostbite Slash from someone that follows this whole situation since the day that they were acquired. I believe it is very, extremely, extraordinarily likely that WB Games is sold. Very likely. In fact, I feel more confident in that than ever. Really think these studios are leaving Warner Brothers Discovery. I will be utterly shocked if these studios are still part of WB Discovery 1 year from now. That soon. I think they're going to be gone, and they're going to be gone quick. And let me explain to you why. And I could be wrong. I could be totally wrong. But let me explain to you why I think that. Because it directly comes from David Zaslav himself. That is the reason why I think so. So as someone that has been watching the way David operates from the minute that they acquired WB, it has become extraordinarily clear, and you're only getting more and more and more evidence of this, that the way his CEO and management style is he wants to run a very lean business in terms of costs. And he wants to make a lot of money rapidly. What is the exact polar opposite of that strategy? Video games. Video games take many, many, many years to make. 3 years if you're lucky. 4 years and 5 years, very common now for AAA games. So you're investing hundreds of millions of dollars for years and years and years, and you wait years and years and years and years to get a return on that investment. Now, you can make a ton of money at it. Look at how many companies are profitable. But that is not his management style. His management style is not, hey, let's greenlight a project right now and wait 5 years from now and spend $100+ million making this and $100+ million marketing this, and maybe 5 years from now we're going to make a bunch of money on it. That is not how David operates in the slightest. He has been cutting stuff for months. People are just now finding this out that don't pay close attention because it's such big properties that it's happening to now, right? Now it's like, oh, Batgirl, all of a sudden, like, it's getting everyone's attention. Y'all, he's been doing this for months and months and months. He's been trying to find a way to get WB out of their deal with Bad Robot and the director of Star Wars, J.J. Abrams. He canceled one of the shows that was early in development from J.J. Abrams. He's canceled numerous movies that were in early pre-production that hadn't started filming yet. Like, he's been going through and cutting as much stuff as he possibly can. Video games just do not fit David Zaslav's strategy. Too long of a wait, too big of an investment, and you're not guaranteed a return on that investment because, as we know, the video game industry is fairly volatile. So I will be utterly shocked if these studios are still there a year from now. I think personally David right now behind the scenes is trying to sell them. Now, here's the big question. I think the only way these studios are not sold is if he quite literally cannot get anyone to buy them. Because the big question mark on this is what is the price tag, and the problem is these studios would not come with IP. We've had reports of that in the past that they've been tried to sell, and they have been somewhat unsuccessful with that because they're asking a big number for these studios, trying to do it all in bulk and no IP come with it. That is the roadblock. I'm telling you right now, Highland, or who asked this? Frostbite. I'm telling you right now, Frostbite, if he had a big offer for all of these studios in one chunk, they'd be sold tomorrow. I'm telling you that right now. That would happen. The only way, I think literally the only way he doesn't sell WB Games is if he just cannot get a buyer. And in that case, then questions do start to come up. What will he do? And that, I don't know. I really, really don't know. It's hard to say. But the one thing I feel very confident in Frostbite is that David Zaslav wants out of the video game business. Trust me. Doesn't fit his management style at all. Even if they're profitable. Some people will say, yeah, but WB Games is having some successes. It doesn't really matter. That's not... David doesn't look at it like that. He looks at short-term, quick, make your money, cut costs. Like that, there's different styles of management. Some people manage certain ways. Some people run other ways. David wants low cost, quick cash back. All right. Thank you for that super chat, Frostbite. Highlander001 with a 5 super chat. Thank you so much, Highlander. After what Sony said to the Brazilian questionnaire, if I worked at Insomniac or Naughty Dog, I would feel insulted. Does this hurt morale? I don't think so, because I think if you're at Sony or Naughty Dog, you have to know, or if you're at Insomniac or Naughty Dog, you have to know what Sony's trying to do here. Do I believe that Sony truly believes that no one can ever make a competitor to Call of Duty? I don't believe that, because Call of Duty already has competitors. And you saw some of their other, some of the other people that were asked in this from the Brazilian questionnaire outright said Call of Duty already has competition. Like, if you look at the most played charts right now, Call of Duty is not the number one most played game in the world right now. It's high up there. Call of Duty Warzone's usually in that top 3, but Fortnite's bigger than Call of Duty, almost always. Like, if you look at the most played charts, Fortnite is essentially always bigger than Call of Duty is. There's more people playing that than Call of Duty. If you look at Apex Legends, the game is giant. It's usually right up there with Call of Duty in terms of numbers of players on the most played charts. If you look at tons of games, right, it has competition. If you look at Grand Theft Auto, yeah, Grand Theft Auto is not an FPS. It's still an enormous juggernaut franchise that competes with Call of Duty. So, like, Destiny is still almost always in the top 10 most played games on consoles. So, like, I think if you're at Insomniac or Naughty Dog and you do feel insulted by, like, their statement that, no one can make a competitor to Call of Duty, I would tell you, you need to just realize that this is Sony doing what they can to try and put as many roadblocks in place as possible. I sincerely doubt Sony truly believes that. Now, can you make a game that's like a clone of Call of Duty and compete with it? Probably not. It would be pretty tough to make a realistic warfare, modern combat setting and directly compete with Call of Duty when Call of Duty is well received, right? That is pretty difficult. We've seen Battlefield do it, but Battlefield only really did it once. It was when Battlefield 1 was at its peak and whenever Call of Duty was at one of its lowest points. Its lowest point now is Vanguard, but before Vanguard, the one that was like a big red flag was that Infinite Warfare. So that was just like a kind of a one-off that Battlefield was able to be so competitive, but there are games out there that are definitely competitive with Call of Duty. There's just zero question about it. So I personally think that if you're at Insomniac or Naughty Dog, you shouldn't take offense to this because you got to realize what Sony's doing. They're going to try and block this. They should block it. Like I said, if I'd be paying lawyers to do what you can to try and make this not happen. It's in your best interest. When you're a business, you got to look at your best interest. Benji here with a 5 super chat. Hi, Benji. Is a PS5 price increase likely? And JCat says, wow, so many super chats today. I agree. Thank you so much, guys. This is very kind of you, for real. Thank you for all these super chats. It's very, very kind. I haven't even been able to get to the free questions yet. Great questions today, too, guys. I hope you're having fun, because I am. Even if these weren't super chats, these are great questions. We have some good topics today. Benji with a 5. Great to see you, Benji. Is a PS5 price increase likely? It is mainly available in bundle with the Horizon 2 and even 3D Pulse in Europe and keeps selling. I actually have a theory about this, Benji. I kind of think that's part of the reason the Horizon bundle exists right now. I was wondering at first, like, why bundle Horizon so early? And part of me originally thought, oh, they're trying to just sell they're trying to get as many people playing Horizon as possible. But doesn't that sell for more? Am I crazy? And I'm misremembering? I'm pretty sure that sells for $50 more or something, doesn't it? Or maybe I might be completely crazy. Because I haven't been going to like buy one, obviously. But I thought it was $50 more in the US. But like I said, maybe I'm crazy, guys. Don't take this as gospel. I'm looking right now. Maybe I'm crazy. There's a chance I'm crazy. Yeah, I'm not seeing a price. Can you guys tell me, am I crazy or what? Someone tell me in chat. No, it is. Yeah, it's $5.49 on Amazon. That's what it is. Yep, $5.49. $50 more. Yep. Benji, Benji, I kind of think that is a stealth price increase. Because I agree with you. Benji, almost here in the US, almost all the PS5s being sold right now are Horizon bundles. Like, do you occasionally see ones that aren't the Horizon bundle? Yes, but the vast bulk of PS5s that are being sold are those Horizon bundles. And guess what? Horizon costs them $0 to include that. Costs them 0. Like, yeah, maybe somebody would have bought that game, but to give you a digital code for that game, it's a first-party game. They're not paying anything to include that code in the box. And they get that price up by $50. I kind of think that it's a stealth price increase, honestly. And it makes sense now. I wasn't really thinking about that at first. Like, my very first thought when this bundle was very first announced, I was just like, they're trying to get the install base on Horizon as fast as possible. I don't think that anymore. I really think it's a stealth. Now, do I think that they're going to outright just raise the price of the PS5, like the standard no games included for the disc or the digital? I'll be honest with you, Benji, I don't think they'll do that because I think the blowback would be so immense. I think even with inflation, if you raise the price on just the standard console, I think people might get real angry about that because it'd be pretty much unprecedented for a regular console to do that. But this right here is a super smart way to stealthily get people to spend $50 more than they typically would on a PlayStation, and it costs them $0 extra to have that happen because, like I said, it's a digital code for a game that's first party. So I kind of think that's what happened here, Benji, which is pretty fascinating. It's kind of genius in retrospect once you kind of look at it and be like, oh, dude, once you put the pieces together, this kind of makes sense. Because I'm telling you, in the US, it's almost all Horizon bundles right now. And you're seeing that in the UK too, right? Every time there's big PS5 restocks in the UK, you see Horizon shoot up the charts because it's so bundled. And all of those are $50 more. So it's pretty interesting, right, Benji? Pretty interesting. And I didn't put that together until super recently. But I don't think that they're going to just straight up increase the price because I think that, dude, I think people would get real mad about that. Could hurt them pretty bad in terms of like public, what's the word I'm looking for? Public opinion. There you go. Brad Davis with a $4.99 super chat. Thank you so much, Brad. Great to see you in here, man. Do you think we'll see the Series S at $250 this holiday season? Oh, that's a great question. The third holiday, digital only, so it may be a good long-term gain for Game Pass subs. That's a pretty great question, Brad. I think you might. I think you might, Brad, because here's the thing. I think they would definitely take a loss on that. I think they'd be selling the console at a loss. But like you said, it would be really good for Game Pass subs. And Microsoft might, Microsoft is such a rich company. They might be for a short period of time, right? Obviously, they wouldn't do the 250 Series S for like a year or something. They would just be taking way too big of a hit. But for a holiday season and also to get those headlines like, hey, we outsold PlayStation 5 during the holidays in the US, because I think having a 250 Series S on the market, probably would outsell PS5, to be honest with you, between Series X and S combined, and that shouldn't be a hot take. We're seeing the Xbox outsell the PS5 fairly regularly in the United States. In fact, it's outsold PS5 more months of this year than it hasn't in the US. So I could see them doing that for a short window, Brad. Yeah, I don't think it would necessarily be the entire holiday season, but could we maybe see them do that for Black Friday and maybe like Super Saturday, that last Saturday before Christmas? Microsoft is a wealthy enough company that they could potentially take that hit if they really want to get those units out and really boost Game Pass subs and get those headlines of outselling Sony in the US. So it could. Brad, I would not rule that out as impossible, no. I think that has potential. Yep. All right, Super Chats are cleared. Thank you so much, guys. That was a ton of Super Chats. I really, really, truly appreciate that. Let me dive into some free questions now. Thank you so much, guys. It was very kind of you, and we still got a ton to talk about. So don't worry, free questions. I've got time. I'm off work today, so I don't know exactly how long I'm going to stream, but I got time. Joseki here with our first free question. Just now getting to the free questions. Hello, Benji. What's up? A couple of questions. I love it. Joseki usually hits me with a couple. One, why do you think Switch software last quarter declined exclusively in North America while staying flat or up everywhere else? It's a great question. Is it just a Nintendo thing, or are you seeing this trend for other platforms too? Two, today, Nikkei, I never know how to say that, so I'm sure I'm saying it wrong, reported that they don't expect new Switch hardware this fiscal year. And it got me thinking. Where's the last part? There we go. With Breath of the Wild 2 almost surely missing this fiscal year and releasing in fiscal year Q1 24, do you remember any other massive hardcore title and or hardware launching that quarter in recent years? Fiscal year 21 is usually light. Great questions, Joseki. Fantastic questions. Okay, so let's tackle them one at a time. First of all, in regards to the software sales, this is an industry-wide thing to some degree, but I also have a theory about Nintendo as well, so let me tell you. So first of all, we saw that a big part of the reason why Sony and Microsoft reported revenue declines for their businesses was due to a decrease in software sales from third parties. Now, we know that affects Nintendo less because Nintendo is such first-party driven. But if you're having third-party software decline across the industry, it's more than likely also going to impact Nintendo to some degree as well. Now, in regards to why this is a bit of a US phenomenon, because as you mentioned, other markets were pretty stable, but North America declined a lot. I think there's two big factors potentially here. First of all, the US has been the most not caring about the pandemic, probably of any country in the world. And I know pretty much everywhere is like open by now, but as someone that lives in the US, like no one wears masks anymore. No one cares. I mean, if you ask like your regular person in the US, the pandemic doesn't exist anymore. So I think a lot of people in North America are going to concerts now. I'm seeing it all over my feeds. I live in the US and on Facebook and all this kind of stuff. Like everybody's out, everybody's doing things. They're going to concerts. They've been cooped up for years. They're going to the movies. We've had a lot of movies hit huge numbers this year. So I think that's a factor. I think a factor is that North America, we're coming down from those peaks whenever everyone was so concerned with the pandemic and everything. And that's part of the reason why the whole industry is down. So I think that is a legitimate factor. I think people in the US are getting out. They're going places. They're doing things that they haven't been able to do for the last few years. Tons and tons of concerts and tours and all that kind of stuff. So I think that is a factor. It's going to affect everyone, but I think it's really affecting North America to a degree. And I also have another bit of a theory. I think Nintendo might hit saturation in the United States faster than any other region. I can tell you as someone that works retail, the enthusiasm around Switch is definitely nothing comparable to what it was the last 2 years. It's just not. Now, is Switch still selling consoles in the US? Absolutely. It's still selling a lot of consoles. Is it still going to sell a ton of games in the US? Absolutely. It's still going to sell a ton of games. But I can tell you as someone that lives in the US right now, there's a lot more, to be honest, excitement around PS5 and Xbox Series right now. A lot of people want those new consoles and they want to play games on those new platforms. And they're kind of, I mean, it's just, I don't think that should be a shocking thing. Look at how high the install base is of Switch, right? It has sold so many ridiculous consoles in the United States. It has sold so many games in the United States. And we're talking about newer platforms that have been supply constrained. So I think that is also a factor too, to be honest. I think that Switch might decrease in momentum faster in North America than it does in either Japan or Europe. I don't know that for sure. We're still early days, but just like, I think this is something to keep an eye on. I think there's a very real chance, like I've said before, even if Switch declines, it's not going to fall off the face of the earth. But I think there's a very real chance you see North America fall off a lot faster than what Japan and Europe are going to do. So keep an eye on that. Still early days, but I have a theory about that. It just does not feel like Switch has the same sort of momentum that it did, particularly the last 2 years in the US. I mean, it was insane the last 2 years. Like, Switch demand was unbelievable. I work retail, all I could do was hear about Switches and Switch games. And now, I'll be honest with you, I do not hear it near as much. And Switch is not supply constrained in the US at all. It's not. There's no supply constraints. Like, I know that this may be a factor in Europe and it may be a factor in Japan because Nintendo was talking about how they're facing like still issues with shipments. That is not a North America phenomenon. I mean, they're on shelves everywhere. You can walk into pretty much any retail store in the US and buy whatever Switch you want. So I don't know. I think North America might hit saturation faster than other markets, and that will impact software sales as well as enthusiasm about a platform kind of goes down. So we'll have to see. Just like, it is not a lock. It's just a theory I have. Casual Gamer. Hi, do you think Suicide Squad could be a hit if it is received well? Or do you think superhero games have to be centered around popular heroes / villains and single player to be successful? Or could a superhero game be whatever genre they want and less popular heroes, villains, and still be successful? Just have to be a really good game. Casual Gamer, I think Suicide Squad has potential to be a hit, but I don't think it can be near as big as Arkham Knight and Arkham City were, to be honest with you. I could be totally wrong about this in the long run, but I've talked about it before on this chat. I think making Suicide Squad and not another Batman Arkham game was probably a huge mistake. I mean, I hope I'm wrong. I hope that this game is a giant, colossal seller. But for how long it has taken to come out, budget has to be enormous because the development cycle is extraordinarily long. And that all, dude, the longer games in development, it's just the facts. You have to pay those devs for those years. And there's still years you're waiting to get that money back. You know, longer a development cycle, the more expensive a game. That's just math. So the budget is not cheap in any way, shape, or form. Is this budget cheap? So what I think that Rocksteady probably should have done, and hindsight's always 20/20, but I think they probably should have, if they really wanted to get away from Batman and try something new, I think that maybe they should have still had another Batman game in development and on the side start pre-production on something else and, you know, work your way up to it. The fact they went from Batman to just straight up, we're doing no Batman and we're doing something else. Look at how long it's going to be between games. I mean, unbelievable. We basically have gone an entire console cycle without a game, right? Because Arkham Knight was very early last gen, and now we're several years into this gen by the time it comes out. They essentially went an entire console cycle without releasing a new game. That's crazy, dude. So, you know, could it be a hit? Yes. I'm not telling you that Suicide Squad's going to bomb. I'm just saying I don't think it was the necessarily best business sense to tackle things the way that they did. And also, I do have doubts that it could be as big as Arkham Knight and Arkham City, where I'll be honest, I do have doubts about that. But I hope I'm wrong. I'm always rooting for games to succeed. So I hope I'm wrong on that. I hope it's colossal and sells 1 billion copies. Eber Romero. Wait, did I skip some questions? No. Hi, Benji. PlayStation down in this quarter. Everyone was like, oh, this is the end. The next day's Xbox is down. Well, Xbox was actually first. They were down before anyone else. Nintendo is down because, believe me, I tweet all this stuff. Whenever I tweeted Xbox was down, you should have seen my retweets. It was pure doom. Non-stop PlayStation fanboys saying Xbox is doomed. Nintendo is down in the quarter. Do you think the same will happen next quarter, and why? And man, second question. I'm seeing lots of stock of PS in the UK as well. And Horizon Forbidden West with that bundle is selling a lot. Thoughts? Yes. Two great questions. So first of all, yes, people should not say anyone's doomed. That's one of the things that I was tweeting about whenever I was like, when I was noting NPD, and I was like, NPD was down too, like, the minute I tweeted Xbox was down, constant retweets from PlayStation fans saying how Xbox is doomed and Game Pass is trash. And then the second I tweeted that PlayStation was down, constant retweets from Xbox fans saying how Sony's doomed and like their first party games are bombing. Like, you guys know how console wars go. Any sort of negative data point and it's just ammunition. But the reality is that the whole industry's down. And I think a big part of it is because we're coming off of incredible peaks with the pandemic. It sounds super sad to say, but the pandemic was one of the biggest things ever to happen for the video game business. Like, again, it's sad to say because that it took something so awful to elevate, something we all love so much. But there's just no debate. Tons of people were playing games that never played games before during the pandemic because they were scared to go outside, they didn't have things to do, or they were locked down. And tons of people that hadn't played games in years got back into the hobby. So I think long term, one thing you keep seeing these companies say is that yes, they're down, but they're still above pre-pandemic levels. So I think you are going to see the video game industry get a permanent bump off of the pandemic because I think it just got a lot of people in love with games that either had fallen off or weren't gamers in the first place into games. So I do think there's a long-term positive, but I don't think it's going to be able to maintain those crazy highs that it had forever because there was a lot of reasons why they were so high. You're seeing the same thing with like streaming, for example. Movie theaters are roaring back, but what's happening to streaming? Exactly. During the pandemic, everyone's locked down. They can't go to the movie theater. What do? They subscribe to subscription streaming services so they can watch tons of TV and streaming because they can't go to their movie theater and things like that. Now you're seeing movie theaters and stuff come back and people are going outside and streaming's going down. This is the cycle. The pandemic, artificially to a degree lifted things very, very high. So do I think you're going to keep forever seeing these kinds of declines? No, but I am expecting declines again this coming quarter. For most of these companies, the release slate, again, is very, very poor. The reality is that 2022, I see a lot of people try to be super positive on social media and be like, I don't know what you guys are talking about. 2022 is an amazing year for games. Listen, there's two ways to look at something. Is there still a ton of gems in 2022? Yes. So there's nothing wrong with having that opinion. I've played a ton of stuff I like this year. Is 2022 a great year in terms of the business side of releases? No, it has been terrible outside of the beginning. January, February, and even March, February particularly, very solid start to the year. You look at April through September, and dude, it is in terms of business. I'm not saying in terms of people finding gems, finding things they like. I'm just talking about the overall release slate, what drives the business of video games, AAA sales. It's been pretty much terrible. Like, there has been so little on the market. I made a tweet about this and I was like, yeah, it's impressive Elden Ring keeps topping charts just over and over and over and over again in NPD. But what that says, honestly, yes, it is impressive, but that's also sending you a message of how poor the release slate is. A game should not be topping the charts that many months consecutively, just over and over and over again. It's like every month since launch in the US NPD, but 1 month it's been number one. Like, dude, that should not be happening. That should not be happening, okay? So it hasn't been a great year, and that continues into this next quarter. There's still some cool stuff. There's still some big stuff that's going to come out, some stuff that might do well. But do I think most of these companies are going to be down? Yes, I think most of them are going to be down again in revenue from third-party sales and things like that. So, yeah, I do think so. The one exception to this is Nintendo first party. Nintendo first party has been very strong this year. But it's really been third party. Third party AAA has been a disaster in 2022. There's just no way around it. I do think the quarter after that looks pretty good. Once you hit like October, I think things improve a lot. You start to get a lot of releases in October, November, and December. So luckily, we're going to go out on a bang. But those two middle quarters, right, last quarter and this quarter that we're in right now, they are rough in terms of AAA releases. Rough. Oh, and in regards to your second question about PlayStation stock, yeah, they're high this month. Expect big sales in July for Xbox and PlayStation. Big restocks. And I also made a tweet about that. I was saying how this is going to be good. I'm telling you right now. Get ready whenever you see NPD numbers in particular. I'm not sure. I don't live overseas, so I don't have near as much visibility to markets like UK and all of that kind of stuff. I just see the charts that come out. But that doesn't surprise me to see there's big restocks in the UK because the US as well. July MPD is going to be very good for Xbox and PlayStation. I'm telling you that right now. Jupo Heeg here. I hope I'm saying that right. I'm sure I'm not. I apologize. Hi, Benji. Now that Xbox possibly will own Call of Duty and Activision, those Sony words that Call of Duty is unique, etc., of course the other publishers, when they ask, they say, meh. Yeah, but of course Sony was. I agree. The only one is saying something negative. Of course they are the only ones affected. Yes, you're right on the money, Jupo. But then Xbox says Activision doesn't have anything unique or must have. I feel that's a lie. Yeah, you're right. You're seeing the two extremes, right? No, Jupo, you're totally right. So let me finish this off, and you are right. There are lots of FPS, etc., but I feel both Sony and Microsoft are wolves dressed as little cats. Trying to convince the regulators. What do you think? Jupo, you're pretty much right. Remember how earlier I was saying Sony, I think, is hamming it up a little bit. They have some great points, but do I think that they're hamming it up a little bit, trying to be like, nothing can compete with Call of Duty? Come on. There are games that can compete with Call of Duty. Is it extremely, extremely difficult to get a game on the level of Call of Duty? Yes, that is fair. But they were like kind of making it sound like nothing can compete. There's just nothing like Call of Duty. There's no other game can make that kind of money. Okay, that was a little extreme, and like you said, other third parties were like, no, Call of Duty has competitors. But as Jupo notes, it is outright true that, yes, Xbox did the opposite, which makes sense. They're trying to underplay Activision. They're like, dude, what? Activision? Nah, they don't got that much. I mean, obviously, they were a little more professional than that. But essentially, they were like, come on, Call of Duty's not that big a deal. I mean, yeah, it's cool, but it's not crazy. Like, they were doing the exact opposite. They were trying to underplay it, which, hey, this is their jobs, right? The people that get paid to make these statements, these PR statements to, these courts and everything, you can't outright lie. Like, neither one of these are like lie about dishonest about data. It's more opinions, so you can kind of stretch opinions a little bit more. But there's no doubt that Sony is a little overplaying and Microsoft's a little underplaying. You're spot on, Jupo, which is kind of their job, right? That's kind of their job. Microsoft wants this to go through as easy as possible. So if you're Microsoft, you want to make it sound like it's not a big deal. Come on. I mean, yeah, Call of Duty's cool, but it's not that big a deal. You want to do that. And Sony, you want to be like, this is the worst thing ever. So it makes sense. It makes sense. Yoda Soda. Battlefront is a really beloved Star Wars title. You know what's crazy? How good those do on Game Pass. Do you think it is possible that a new game in the series could be released in the near future? Also, any hope for Titanfall 3, or did that ship sail? Let me tell you something kind of crazy, guys. Because I see this all the time, because you guys know I'm always checking charts and stuff. Let me look at something right now. Now, this could have changed recently. But listen to this, right? In the United States right now, let me check something for you. Because this is very common here. Let me see. Okay, it's not right now. So normally, the vast majority of time in the United States, when you check most popular on Game Pass in the United States, Battlefront is almost always there. It's crazy, Yoda Soda. I'm like shocked by this. The Battlefront EA games. Battlefront 2 and even Battlefront 1. You will see them both on the Game Pass most popular list in the US pretty regularly. which is a bit of a shocker to me. I know Battlefront 2 had a huge turnaround from like whenever it launched, when people really were mad at that game. I've heard, now I haven't played Battlefront 2, but I've heard that they rapidly, like they made a lot of improvements to it. But it is crazy how that game has some crazy staying power in terms of Game Pass. Now, sales, I ain't so sure about that. I don't know how many people are actually buying Battlefront nowadays. But when you make it easy to access, there's a lot of people clearly still willing to play these games. Do I think Battlefront could come back one day? I actually do, Yoda. I don't know who would do it. Doesn't have to be EA, now that it's a licensed thing, right? EA will always have the rights to publish the 2 Battlefront games that they made. But I believe, I could be wrong, but I believe EA doesn't outright own the Battlefront IP. And again, I could be wrong on that. And if so, I really apologize for that. But I think Battlefront is probably still owned by Lucasfilm. So they technically probably could have somebody else make a Battlefront game if they wanted to. But EA even might do Battlefront 3 one day. I wouldn't rule that out. So Yoda Soda, I think there's a very good chance Battlefront comes back. Yes. Now, do I think it's like imminent? You're going to get a Battlefront game, next year? No. But I won't be shocked at all, Yoda Soda, if it comes back, because clearly that IP has some staying power. Titanfall 3, I think, is over. I don't think you'll ever see Titanfall 3, and that really pains me to say. I hope it does, but I think they're just all in on Apex, which makes sense. I think, put it this way, Yoda, I think it's way more likely you get an Apex Legends single-player campaign before you get Titanfall 3. And that really pains me to say. But I think that they'd be willing to sell, as like a DLC. I don't think they would ship a full-on $60 game with a single-player component. But I think it would probably be more likely they'd ship some sort of like $20 or $30 single-player, expansion than a $60 Titanfall game. But I hope I'm wrong. I really hope I'm wrong, Yoda. But it probably makes sense for them to just continue to focus on Apex. But that pains me because I love Titanfall 2. Like, I love it. I think it's one of the best single-player campaigns I ever played. All right, I think we got a couple more Super Chats rolling in. Benji here with an extremely nice comment. Benji, you're the best sales analyst. Well, Benji, I do not agree with that. I very much appreciate that. That is extremely kind of you. But I can't consider myself that because I don't get paid to do it, right? And a lot of those guys are very, very good behind the scenes. I might be like the most public one nowadays, to be honest with you, because you've really seen like Daniel pull back from like how much he talks about it on social media. And Pactor doesn't do as much and stuff, But behind the scenes, those guys do a lot of great work. So I might be like the most public-facing sales guy nowadays. To me, it sounds crazy to think about that because I shouldn't say grew up, but though kind of actually. I've been doing this since I was 17 on forums. So I guess kind of growing up's the right word for it, looking up to a lot of these guys. So it feels weird to think that like I might be the most public facing of them nowadays, but to be clear, a lot of these guys do fantastic work behind the scenes and a way more in-depth stuff than I'm doing, like with super in-depth data dives. But let me finish this. I really do appreciate that comment, Benji. It's very nice. But who is better? Oh, I can't do this. Between Matt Piscatella, Daniel Ahmed, Michael Pachter, David Gibson, and Takashi Mochizuki. I don't know how to say his last name. I think they're all pretty great. They all do a bit of different things, Benji, right? Like you got Matt, who's really U.S. focused. Like that guy has so much data for the United States that, probably no one can compete with Matt in terms of in U.S. market. Like U.S. market's my specialty, but I don't have the access to data that Matt does. So, Matt is so good about that. Daniel knows so much more about me than Asia. It can't even be put into words. Like the way he has knowledge about the Chinese market, dude, I don't know jack about the Chinese market compared to Daniel. So like Daniel would be light years ahead of me in terms of like telling you about the Chinese market with esports and all that stuff. He'd be so far past me, it'd be unbelievable. Pactor behind the scenes, from what I've been told, I don't know Pactor, whereas I've actually talked to Matt Piscatella and Daniel Ahmed quite a bit off the record. Like I've talked to these guys a lot. I mean, I talked to Daniel so much it's crazy. Not in the last few years, honestly. You guys kind of know we had that weird falling out, but we made up. So to be clear, there's no shade on Daniel. We made up. We're good. But we used to be actually, in my opinion, I don't know if you asked him this, but I used to think we were pretty close. But I talked to Matt and Daniel, I mean, dozens and dozens and dozens of times behind the scenes. Pactor actually haven't had that relationship with. But from what I have heard, from what people have told me that are very, very, big and connected in the industry, I have heard that, yes, he makes a lot of hot take statements to the public. Yes, he makes a lot of crazy predictions. But what I have always been told about Pactor is that behind the scenes, he writes some pretty incredible reports on the industry. So maybe public facing, we don't see that as much, right? He's doing it more for like investors and stuff. But I've always been told, yeah, Pactor makes some pretty crazy hot takes, but behind the scenes, if you read some of his reports, they're pretty incredible. So I get why a lot of people don't like Pactor because of what he says and does, but like I said, I've only heard actually nothing but good things about what he does behind the scenes. David Gibson, I love David Gibson. David Gibson, I would say out of all these guys, is probably my biggest supporter. David Gibson has always been incredibly kind to me. He's always retweeting my stuff. He's liking tweets. Honestly, out of everybody on this list, I would say David Gibson is the one who is the most supportive of me. So that's going to make me feel great about you too, right? Plus, he's super smart. Guy's always covering Japan and doing lots of great translations. So he's probably the best of this bunch on the Japanese market. If you notice, each one of these guys, and Takashi too, if you notice, each one of these guys have a little bit of a different specialty. Matt, great with U.S. market and doing tons of deep data dives in the U.S. market. Daniel, incredible about the Chinese market and covering Asia. Michael Pactor, doing a lot more behind the scenes work reports for like the investing community. Like David Gibson, a lot more. You see what I'm saying? They all have their like kind of niche, which makes sense why these are like some of the most prominent guys. I'm more of just like public facing, covering all the public data I can, getting it out there to gamers, getting it out there to, what do you guys care about? What applies to you? So we all have our little bit of a different niche, right? Every one of these guys I would rank as more successful than me because they get paid to do it and I don't. I'm a retail worker, so that pretty much tells you. But thank you, Benji. I really appreciate that. And I recommend you follow all of them. Anybody that likes sales data, follow every name that's in that list on Twitter. Highlander with a 10. Thank you so much, Highlander. I really appreciate that. The super chats are off the chain today. Blizzard canceled the WoW mobile game. Does this have anything to do with Microsoft acquiring them, or is this market driven? Playing Peppa Pig with my daughter while watching the stream. Keep it up, dude. Highlander, I really respect how awesome of a girl dad that you are. You're always shouting out your daughter. Love that, Highlander. As a girl dad myself, I have so much respect for that. So glad to hear it, Highlander, and I love seeing that you guys are getting some quality time playing Peppa Pig together. Now, the canceled WoW mobile game, does it have to do with Microsoft? I don't particularly think so because I have a feeling that part of this acquisition definitely is to get a bigger presence in mobile. Everyone that we talk to is really focused on the Activision and Blizzard side, which completely makes sense because we're all like hardcore gamers, right? But don't get mistaken, King is a huge part of this purchase as well. And King is, mobile. King makes incredible amounts of money on mobile. So trust me, getting a bigger presence in mobile is part of this whole strategy with the acquisition. I mean, I think that Activision and Blizzard, even if there was no King attached, if Microsoft saw an opportunity to buy them, I think they would have. But knowing they get such a big mobile presence now, I think they really like that too. So I don't think it's Microsoft wanting to get out of the mobile business. I think maybe that game just wasn't working. Sometimes projects just don't work out, right? You're developing it, you do a ton of play testing and stuff, and it reaches a point where it gets canceled. I hate to say it, but games get canceled all the time, right? We've all seen all the stories. Sony Santa Monica had an infamous one that they worked on for years. It sounds like it was kind of like a Destiny type experience, and it was such a devastating cancellation that you saw like Stig leave the company and go to Respawn over that, and it set Santa Monica back from reports for like years. So yeah, I hate to say it, but you do see this stuff sometimes in the gaming industry. Sometimes projects just don't work out. And maybe this WoW mobile game, playtesting was bad. Maybe, and I don't know this, I'm just saying maybe people were playing it and they just could not get it to work out. They thought, hey, this isn't going to be financially viable if we put it out. People are going to hate it. We're not going to be able to make enough money on it, so let's cancel it now. I think it has more something to do with that. Probably the game just wasn't working out, and so they killed it before they made it public, probably. That would be my guess, Highlander. But I don't think it directly has to do with the Microsoft acquisition. All right, Super Chats are cleared again. Thank you so much, guys. The questions today are crazy good. Like, wow. You guys always ask good questions. Part of the reason why I love doing this chat. I actually learn a lot from you guys, too, whenever we do this chat. I don't see it as like a me chat. I see it as an us chat. You guys are asking the questions, but I learn from your questions from what you're asking. And you guys also drop great data points in here, too, stuff that I don't think about. And questions there are just fantastic. I feel like anyone could watch this stream right now and learn a lot off of today's stream. And I don't mean because all of my answers are great. I'm saying because the stuff you guys are asking too. This is some high level chat happening right now, y'all. You ain't gonna find many corners of the internet that are talking about video game industry like this. I'm telling you that right now. I might not have the biggest stream, the biggest audience. You ain't gonna find many videos or anything going in depth like this. You're just not. It's not. There's not many places like this, y'all. That's why I love this chat. Okay. Where we at? Oh, I forgot to answer Joseki's previous question earlier, and this was a good one. Sorry, let me answer this one really quick. Joseki, about Switch launch. Sorry, Joseki, I forgot that. So, here's the thing. I am more and more of the opinion that I really think Switch needs new hardware next year. I really do think so. Now, here's the thing. Is it the end of the world if they wait and don't release new hardware in 2023 and they push it to 2024? I don't think that's the end of the world. I think they can ride out 2023 because, again, even with Switch being down hard last quarter, they're still on track for a huge year in hardware sales. Like, the thing is that Switch's peaks were so high that even when it declines, it's still very high in the grand scheme of things yearly hardware sales. You know what I mean? It's not a thing where it's like, oh, you already weren't selling much and now you're declining, so now your sales are really low. It's not that at all. It's just that Switch's peaks were like so giant that even when you're declining, compared to a regular console cycle, you're still selling a ton of freaking consoles yearly, even if you're past your peak. So it's like, I think they could ride out all of 2023 with no new hardware. But Joseki, I think we are getting at the point now that it might be a mistake to wait too long, okay? And again, to be clear, I don't think skipping 2023 completely would be too long. I think you could probably get away with that. But if they wait until like holiday 2024 or later, I think you run a real risk of losing momentum. I'm not declaring for you would lose momentum. I'm just saying I think you run a bit of a risk. You kind of want to ride the high that the Switch is on right now, right? You don't want to prematurely kill that momentum, but you also don't want to wait so long that like the enthusiasm really drops out. I feel like you want to ride that high, right? You have so much momentum with Switch, you want to just carry that straight into Switch 2 or whatever they're going to call it. You want to ride that wave. And I think we're kind of getting to the point that if you wait too much longer, you run that risk of that wave kind of being past the crest and kind of coming down. Don't get me wrong. No matter what, Switch 2, whenever it launches, it's going to have an enormous launch. I'm just saying, in overall momentum, I think you want to keep this ship going. And I think that, it sounds like we're not going to get it before the end of the first quarter calendar of next year, right, from the report. Sounds like so that means no new Switch hardware before or by March 2023. Sounds like if we get a new Switch, it's going to be after March. Now that Q1 period, or Q1 of the fiscal, Q2 of the calendar, that would be a really weird window, April through June. As you say, Joseki, that's usually a weird quarter for new hardware. That'd be super weird, right? You don't really see something like that. You usually get a few big games in there, but it's not typically like a hardware month. I think, Joseki, if it's going to be 2023, I think it's going to be holidays. A lot of people assume just because Switch came out in March, of, when it launched in 2017, it came out in March, that it was like so successful that they're just going to repeat that. I don't know that that's necessarily true. I think that if they can make a holiday window, that Nintendo's not opposed to that. So I would say if we get it 2023, I think it might be holidays. They might not do that April through June quarter. They might just wait all the way till holidays. But you never know. This is really hard to say, Joseki. But I think there's a pretty good chance you get a new Switch next year. But probably later in the year. And again, this isn't like insider info. I just think, put it this way, they cannot wait past holiday 2024. I think that'd be such a bad decision, dude. Such a bad decision. I think the prime window, holiday 2023 or Q1 2024, right in that 6-month window from like, let's say October to March, like somewhere right in that window to me feels perfect, but we'll see. I think we had a super chat hit. Let me hit that super chat. We did get a super chat. Highlander with a 5. Really appreciate this. Benji is not a fanboy. He's only a facts and numbers man. Only thing he's a fanboy of is MMA and space exploration. Do not let the haters win. Highlander, I am very lucky in that for someone with a decent sized following, I'm not like super famous, but for someone with a decent sized following, my haters are pretty slow numbers, to be honest. Like, I don't have that many. There are some. I don't really care. Like, I kind of, someone gave me some great, and this is advice for anybody, right? Anyone that ever wants to have a social media platform, again, I am not the biggest, but as someone who has built up a bit of a social media platform, one thing someone told me early on, and they were actually doing it, I think, out of a place of kindness, but it hurt me at the time, but it was like a learning lesson, and boy, has it helped me. Like, it really does. Like, I needed to hear this from this person. It wasn't even someone I know. It was just like some random person. When I very first started making like my Twitter account and stuff, I'd get really, and again, if you don't care about this, it's not just about personal. This is advice for any of you that want to make something, right, that's public facing. Like anyone, I'd get pretty offended when people were like super rude for no reason. Like a lot of times, I can tell you, someone with a social media platform, a lot of the hate you get sometimes is like for literally no reason. Sometimes maybe I do deserve it, but you just get a lot of really random, like, I hate you stuff and you suck and stuff. And it's like, ooh, like, this is weird. Like, why are you being mean to me? And early on, it would like really hurt my feelings. Like, I'd get so upset and like, I would complain about it and stuff. And someone said to me one time on social media, whenever I was like complaining about it, someone being mean, they're like, Benji, if you're going to be, a public facing person, dude, you got to grow thick skin. And at the time, I took that as a bit of offense because it was like, dude, why gotta grow thick skin? Why can't people just be nice? And like, dude, there is no better advice for you. You have to just not care. You gotta just not care. I only focus every single day on my Twitter. I only focus on people that are positive towards me. If you're negative towards me, you're probably getting muted, to be honest. I'm probably just going to click the mute button and never hear from you again. Not if you disagree. I'm saying people that are mean. People that are just like, Benji, you totally suck. I'm just like, okay, mute. Bye. And then I just focus on the people that are positive. And like I said, compared to a lot of people with bigger, I'm not huge, bigger platforms, I get a lot less of it than a lot of people because I think most people know the majority of the time I'm trying to be logical. Are there some haters? Sure, but who cares? Doesn't really mean anything. Like, you can't go through life expecting everyone to like you. There are going to be people that hate you. Maybe some of it's for valid reasons. Maybe some of it's invalid reasons, but you don't control it. So if someone hates me, then okay, hate me, dude. That's fine. I'm going to just live my life and do what I can. So I appreciate that, Benji. All right, I'm not Benji Highlander, but the vast majority of feedback I get's positive, and the few haters, who cares? They can hate and just do whatever they want, and we can do whatever we want, right? Just live life. But yeah, you got to grow thick skin. So for any of you that eventually, if you want to have a Twitter, if you want to have a YouTube, just know, no matter what you say, you could be the kindest, sweetest, and I'm not, but you could be the kindest, sweetest person in the world. People will insult you. They will tell you they hate you. They will tell you you're ugly. They will tell you all of these things. You must have a thick skin. You just got to be like, you just have to accept that's the reality of it and move on. You just put that in the rearview mirror. You go, okay, this sucks, but I have to deal with it. And the best way to deal with it is to just put it behind you. Whatever. Don't focus on it. Put zero time, zero effort into it, and just move forward. All right, Dior Amaro here. What is up, Dior? Seeing all this live service competition, Call of Duty, Battlefield, etc., I feel that Sony is like, oof, gladly we acquired Bungie. I agree. That was a good move. Good move. Because somebody else may have scooped them. Now that PlayStation have Destiny, do you think they should pushing that franchise even more? Yes. Sony's in the top 10. Yeah, we were just talking about this, Dior. Destiny's in the top 10 of all consoles and PC almost every week. You're spot on. And Bungie's making lots of games according to job list. Destiny expansion and seasons, ARPGs, rumors of an RTS game, live service game. Do you think Sony want Bungie to be their Blizzard or their Riot? Yes, I do, Dior. You're spot on. Something like that. What are the possibilities? Dior, you nailed it. You nailed it in every single regard. Yes. The Bungie acquisition was huge for Sony. I think whenever we look back, 5 or 10 years from now, this is going to be potentially the biggest acquisition Sony ever made. I know right now if you don't care about Destiny, and I'm talking about the proverbial you, not the proverbial you out there. If you don't care about Destiny, the Bungie acquisition might not seem like that big of a deal. If you're a single player gamer, you don't care about Destiny, you might be like, why spend all that money on Bungie? But Dior is spot on with what you're saying here. It's a huge deal. Live service games, like them or not, they're a gigantic part of this industry. Multiplayer games are a gigantic part of this industry. And what better way to guarantee you have a positive and strong future in that than getting one of the most successful studios in the entire world at Bungie. Think about how long ago Destiny came out. Like Dior's saying, it's still pretty much always in the top 10 on consoles and PC in players. Like, the franchise is huge, and we know they have at least one new IP coming, and like Dior's saying, a lot of reports that there's even more than one new game coming from them. This is big. I agree. I could totally see them eventually becoming Sony's Blizzard. I'm not going to say that they're the exact same thing, but that sort of thing where they're making these big franchises that have long-term futures, that are multiplayer for a lot of it. I agree. I think you're spot on. Spot on. Ken B. Predictions on Elden Ring. How long have we been going? Woo! We've been going a little while, but I still want to hit some questions. I'm having fun today. So even if people dip out, I totally get it, but I'm having fun and the questions are good. Predictions on Elden Ring sales in tomorrow's Bandai Namco quarterly report. Was it 13.4 million last quarter? It was at 13.4 million, and wasn't that as of, that was like March, right? Man, I think it's got to be close to 20. Ken, I think it's got to be close to 20 million. Because that was like at March, and that game came out in February, dude. I think it's got to be close to 20. I'm going to put it around that 20 million ballpark, give or take a bit, which I know sounds crazy to already be there, but I really think so. I don't know exactly how much above or below. It's hard to say for some of this stuff, especially with like digital sales and, all these different platforms and markets and everything like that. But yeah, it's got to be around that 20 million mark. I don't think it's above 25. You'd be talking it did more than 10 million this last quarter. That seems a little aggressive, right? If it would be at 25 million, that'd be more than 10 million in a quarter. Woo! I mean, you never know. That game has been crazy, but for now I'm going to go around 20. And if it goes to like 25, that's insane. But I'm going to go around 20, give or take a bit. Which is nuts. Absolutely nuts. And then Benji's asking, are you still seeing Switch 2 coming out first half of holiday 2023, as Nate seems to suggest, or late 2023? Like I said, I'm kind of feeling like it's going to be a fall launch if it's next year. But Nate very well could have info I don't. This isn't based off like insider knowledge. It's just looking at it. I kind of feel like it, but you never know. I mean, maybe they want to release it alongside Breath of the Wild 2. And if so, I don't think Breath of the Wild 2 is going to be all the way next holiday. That'd be a crazy delay. So, you never know, though. Nate could be right. It's very possible Nate's right. Drift23, Benji, do you think PlayStation and Xbox will start releasing more first-party games more frequently starting next year? Yes. Could we see 2 to 3 first-party titles a year from both companies? Yes. Yep. Next year, you're going to start to see, Xbox we already know has 3, right? They've publicly announced, right? They've got Starfield, they've got Redfall, and they've got Forza Motorsport. And those are the first half of the year. They're definitely going to have something in that back half as well. So I actually think you're going to see 4+ games from Microsoft next year. Yes, I think that you probably, barring something catastrophic, I think you won't see less than 3 first-party games from these companies per year moving forward. Yes, I think 3 is the minimum. Yep. Again, barring something crazy happening, another pandemic, or like, a huge game getting delayed, something like that. But I think most years they've both expanded so much. I think you don't see less than 3, and many times more, right? Phil Spencer has said he wants 1 per quarter. Long-term goal, at least 1. That's 4 games per year. So, yeah, I really don't think starting next year you see less than 3 from these companies. I really think so. Pandemic really messed things up. Like, people underestimate that. Part of the reason why there's been, Horizon got delayed so much, and then God of War Ragnarok got delayed so much, and, you saw all these delays out of Xbox studios. People really underestimate that pandemic impact. That really screwed up the development pipelines on these games. So, now that we're kind of getting past that, I really can't see less than 3 per year. Eddie Brock, what do you think about Discovery shelving HBO Max and getting rid of scripted content? I think it's stupid. Do you think Discovery is badly mishandling WB? They said they plan on cutting $3 billion of debt, and the rumor is $3 billion is the minimum. There are some rumblings in the industry. It could be as high as $5 billion in savings. Like I was talking about, y'all, when I was talking about how I won't be surprised if WB Games is sold, cutting $3 to $5 billion in costs. That means, like I said, Zaslav wants to run a lean company. He wants that thing lean. He doesn't want a ton of expenses outside of projects that they think they're going to get a good return on quick. So it's hard for me to see games fitting that vision, but you never know. Do I think Discovery's badly mishandling WB? Not necessarily, because I think that the DC movies really needed to be cleaned up in general. Now, do I think that outright canceling a finished movie in Batgirl is the right move? I don't know. That feels kind of, for all of the people that worked on that movie, even if it's bad, it's done from all of the reports besides maybe some of the effects work. Like, man, that sucks for all of those people, whether you're the directors, whether you're the actors, even if you're the behind-the-scenes crew, right, that's doing the lighting and the makeup and all, to have your work never be seen. I don't know, man, that is pretty sucky, right? That would pretty suck to have that happen to you. So I don't really necessarily love the Batgirl cancellation, but at the same time, I do think that DC is just a freaking mess. They need to reboot the whole thing, in my opinion, and it kind of looks like that's what they're doing. Maybe keeping a couple of the actors, right? Keeping Jason Momoa, Aquaman, or whatever, but essentially rebooting the DC universe. That needs to be done. I think it's too early to say if they're badly mishandling it. We're seeing the big moves right now. You will know if what David Zaslav's doing is smart or very stupid in like 3 years. Like, you got to give it time. It's still so early days. You got to see how this stuff plays out. But I do think the HBO Max stuff is potentially very stupid. If this is all true, if it's really becoming part of Discovery and they're not doing any scripted stuff, it's only like, unscripted content, and it's into this new thing. I don't know. It does feel dumb, but we have to see. I'm going to go for like 8 minutes, and then I got to go. This has been a long chat, but I've loved it. The questions have been spectacular today. Spectacular questions. Very impressed. Javier, the axe of Zaslav is getting bigger. Yeah, it is. The axe is fierce, as John Campia says. The axe comes down. That guy doesn't play easy. Nope. All of those projects were canceled even after they were finished. Movies, shows, etc. I feel that person sees a little bit of a problem with the gaming division. You know, we're right on. He will sell that division. I have that feeling. Do you think? Yup. And do you think it is better? Yup. Well, I don't even need to answer it because I did. We're on the same spot, Javier. I do not think he wants to keep games. I really do not think so. Like I said, I think the only way WB Games doesn't sell is if they cannot get anyone to buy it. If they just cannot get enough money out of them without IP. I think that's the only reason. If they can get a good price, they're gone. And they'll license the IP out. That makes so much more sense with Zavzlav's style. Sell the studio so you don't have that investment and license your IP because it's essentially free money because you're not developing it. Somebody else is. That is perfect for how Zaslav runs that business. I'm not telling you that's the right way to run it or not. I'm just saying that fits his strategy so much more than doing it all in-house. It doesn't fit what he does. Eddie Brock, there will be less content from WB and DC since there will be no more HBO Max movies and shows. Don't you think it is bad for consumers to have less content? Don't you think Zaslav is making wrong moves? He's making wrong moves if the quality doesn't shoot up. There can be an argument made that having less content, if it's very high quality content, could be worth the trade-off. Just having less projects, but making each project that you have way better. So, Eddie, like I said, I think this is a little too early. We need to see how it goes. I would say if you don't see DC rapidly improve, right? Like, let's say that you get less content now and DC, for the most part, for like their connected stuff, not something like the Batman, but whatever this connected universe ends up being. If you don't see that start going way up in quality, then yes, it would be bad for consumers because you're essentially getting not better content and you're getting less of it. I would say that if each of these projects starts being really freaking good, it might be worth the trade-off, but we'll have to see. Miles, do you think Marvel's Avengers game failure gave good lessons to most developers on how to approach live service games and how to approach superhero titles? Yes, I think there's a lot of things to learn there. Part of them is don't force live service onto a game that people don't want live service on, right? From the minute that was rumored to be a live service game, it was essentially across the board people being like, why is Avengers live service? Like, never should have been. That game should have been a single player game. I actually think the campaign on that game is pretty decent, all things considered. It's all of the things around it that are just not great. If they were to think about how much money they spent doing all of that other stuff around it, what if they took all of that resources and just pumped that single player campaign up? Because I think it's a decent single player campaign as is. If all of that went into single player, probably would have been a pretty awesome game. And people forget because of all of the ways we look back on that game. Its launch was huge. When it came out, it was the second biggest launch ever in the US for a superhero game. That means it was bigger than Batman Arkham Knight. The only superhero game that launched bigger was Spider-Man. The problem is Avengers had no legs, and that's because it was a service game that people did not want. So, yeah, I think that's one lesson. Again, that doesn't mean don't do service games, but if it doesn't fit the IP, you should not force it in there. So I think that's a learning lesson for sure. So I'm trying to like rapid fire questions because I know that I'm like coming to the end here. Jason Benjamin, Benji, do you think it is possible that the prices up? We answered that about consoles. I don't think that they're going to go up because I think the blowback would be too much. PSVR 2's price, like I said before, I think it's going to be really expensive. $399 at minimum and potentially higher. I can't see it launching less than $400 now, and that's the minimum. Might even be more, but I can't see it less than $400. Dangerman1337, UK upcoming downturn looks bad. UK game sales certainly going to hit. US and other parts in Europe look well off in the coming next year or so in comparison. Oh, wow, that's sad to hear. You know, like I said, I'm in the US, so I don't know everything about all over the world, right? I have my limitations like everyone, so it's one reason I like these chats. You guys are from all over the world, and you give me information. Yeah, that's a bummer. I feel for everyone in the UK. Yeah, the US right now is not great, but I feel like it's not horrible right now, considering some of the fears. We'll have to see how it goes. It could end up really bad, but right now, at least, it feels like things might be stabilizing a bit. But yeah, I feel for everyone in the UK. If the recession looks like it's going to be really, really bad, I feel for you for sure. I think we had one super chat coming in here towards the end. Holy cow, the super chats were off the chain today. You guys were incredibly kind on those super chats. It was nuts. It was nuts. Auroric saying 58 watching and 26 likes. And then JCat saying hit that like button, folks. I would appreciate it. You guys don't see me spam this out. Likes help the YouTube algorithm. If you like doing these chats, hit that like button. All you gotta do is hit like, and it helps the algorithm. And like I said earlier, you're not gonna find many corners of the internet that break down the video game industry like this. So I don't ever need my chat to be huge, some giant thing, but I am proud of the audience that I have here. We go in depth on this stuff, y'all. Brad Davis with a 5. And guys, I'm telling you right now, I've had some industry people DM me and say how much they like the chats. I'm telling you that right now. So you guys, even your questions, I'm not telling you that there's like tons and tons of just like CEOs watching this chat all the time. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying, guys, you ask good questions. I've gotten some DMs from some people in this industry and been like, man, the chats are really good. So you never know. Something you're asking right now, I don't get a ton of viewers, but the viewers that I get, I feel like are really like high level inclined to talk about sales. They see some of your guys' stuff. So I know that for a fact. I've had people tell me. Brad Davis here with a 5. Street Fighter 6 coming to Series, PS4 and PS5, but not Xbox One. Is this because of Sony? Ooh, Street Fighter 5. Or is this Microsoft wanting Xbox fans to buy Series? Great question, Brad. Thank you, dude. That's your second super chat. It's very kind of you. My theory on Street Fighter 6, maybe not going to Xbox One, is it might be really hard to get it to run on that hardware now. Maybe, and I could be wrong here, but we all know that the Xbox One, is it was less powerful than the PlayStation 4. Not the One X, but the regular one. And it could be that hardware is just so old now that Capcom, and they might have looked at sales, right? Capcom is like any company right now. They're going to be forecasting what they're going to sell for each platform, what they think they can hit. And it could have been that maybe they were like, we think we're going to sell X amount of copies of this game on the Xbox One, and it's going to take X amount of resources to get this thing to run on that console because it is so much weaker even than the PS4. Like, there's a pretty decent gap, right? It could have been one of those things where they just thought, hey, we're really not going to sell that much on the One compared to like what we'll do on Series, PlayStation 4, PS5, and PC. Like, that'll be such a small chunk of our sales. Maybe we can save ourselves a little bit of development headache by skipping that platform too. Maybe they thought that trade-off was worth it. That to me kind of makes sense, Brad, but I don't know for sure. I don't think it's because of Street Fighter 5. And Microsoft's involvement, you never know. You can't rule it out, but that's kind of my working theory right now. I think they just thought they wouldn't sell that much on the regular One, because as we're seeing, so much of the One audience is already moving over to Xbox Series. It's the fastest selling Xbox ever, and while it's not selling as much as PS5 is, you're still getting a lot of that Xbox One install base already rolling over to Series because it's selling so much faster than any other Xbox before. They probably were just like, hey, we can save ourselves a little development headache and we're not going to sell much on this anyways. But that's my theory. Okay, almost done. Almost done, guys. Almost done. Like one or two more. I'm sorry. I wish I could hit all of these questions, but they were off the chain today. There were so many good ones. It was wild. I had a blast. I really loved this chat today. Really, really liked it. Cameron Swear, looks like my Switch Sports and Kirby approaching 5. Dude, Cameron, I was just thinking about you a couple of minutes ago. I couldn't remember who asked it, but yes, let me acknowledge this because you were spot on, Cameron. Looks like my Switch Sports and Kirby approaching 5 million prediction was correct. Everyone, give Cameron their props because Cameron was spot on. What's the number you were looking at for Xenoblade 3? I'm thinking 4 to 5 million lifetime. Okay, so yes, you nailed it. Good job. I remember I said that, yeah, I thought Kirby would be getting close, which I was right. I got that part right. I said, I think it's going to be over 4 million. And, dude, that's right where it came, 4.5. So we were both spot on Kirby. I'll tell you, I was a little more doubtful on Switch Sports. I remember I said that like I didn't think it was impossible it would be there, but I remember I said I felt more confident in Kirby than Switch Sports. But Cameron, you were spot on with both. You said that both would be approaching 5 million, and you were spot on. Both of them over 4, both getting to that 5 million number. So, yay, nailed it, Cameron. Good job. And Xenoblade 3, what did Xenoblade 2 finish at? Over 3 million, I want to say. Did it get to 4? I want to say it got over 3, but I don't think it got over 4. Or did it not even hit 3? I'm seeing it over 2. I don't see, unless I'm missing it, I don't see any final data points that was over 3, but its report of it being over 2 was back in 2020. I guarantee you it has had some legs since then. But I don't see confirmation that it ever got over 3. So I'm going to guess, because I think Nintendo might have put PR if it got over 3. I could just be missing it, but I don't think it hit over 3 million. But it probably got pretty close, to be honest. If it was over 2 million back in 2020, I bet it's not far from 3. Because you've seen people buy it over the years, especially leading up to Xenoblade 3 launch. So let's just assume that that's close to 3, right? Let's just work on the assumption that Xenoblade 2 is around 3 million. Yeah, 4 to 5 sounds about right. It's opening bigger than Xenoblade 2 in every market we've seen so far, and that's not counting digital. And digital is going to be a way bigger gap now than 2's was, because 2 was years ago. Nintendo's digital share has increased a lot since Xenoblade 2 came out. So I know you're seeing some stuff like Japan where the gap doesn't look huge between it and Xenoblade 2, but I really want to caution you guys should wait, because digital is probably a pretty big factor in all of this. It is bigger, but some people have thought it like huge. Let's wait, because I have a feeling digital is going to be pretty high. So working on the assumption that Xenoblade 2 is around 3 million, can it get to 4 or 5? Yes. Yeah, I think so. 5 would probably be the high end. I definitely think it can probably hit 4. But I mean, 5 million for a JRPG exclusive would be incredible. So I would say 5 is its top end. Like top, I could not see it over 5, to be honest with you. But I think it could hit that 4 plus, probably. Oh my goodness. Part of me wants to stop, but the questions are still good. Oh my God. Every time I go to stop, I see the next question. I'm like, oh, it's a good question. It's a good one, though. I need to answer it. Michael, July Mpd predictions, Benji. Also in the US, would you guesstimate the split between disc digital PS5 is similar to Japan? So far this year in Japan, 89% of all PS5 sold are disc. Yes, there are almost no digital PS5s being sold right now. Do you see them occasionally? Yes, but not much. And this goes back to what we were talking about earlier about that Horizon little stealth $50 price increase. What else? Those digital PS5s are $100 less, and you're seeing hardly any of them. Y'all, this is not all coincidence. Sony has been very stealthily smart about raising the average price people are paying for PS5s right now. There's hardly any digitals in the market, and yes, that's true of the US as well. And also, they got that Horizon bundle out there with that extra $50. They're being smart. Very, very smart. Very, very smart. So yes. Now, my Mpd predictions, I think that both Xbox and Sony are going to have a great month. By these newer platform standards. The restocks have been fantastic on both this month. The big question is if they can pass Switch. And we did see that one month, right? What month was it? There was one month where Switch was last place. I can't remember what month that was. I kind of think there might be a chance that repeats again, because that did happen. I can't remember what month it was. There was a month where we saw Switch in last, and it was like a shocker. I don't want to say that's a lock, but I'm also not going to be shocked. You know, this is going to sound weird. I won't be surprised if Switch is first or Switch is last. And I know that's a terrible answer for predictions. But these consoles are so volatile right now, because it's not like it was predicting consoles pre-pandemic, because basically everything was always in stock. So it was just a matter of what had demand. Like, consoles weren't just sold out every day. Right now, things are still so volatile that making hardware predictions is way harder than it used to be. I can tell you that right now. I do think there's a chance, though, that at least one of these outsell Switch. I'll be kind of surprised if Switch is first, to be honest. I'm kind of thinking that one or both could be ahead of it because restocks, I'm telling you, they've been great this month. My bold prediction, and I've been pretty freaking spot on with hardware this year, to be honest with you, so I am proud of myself on that. My bold prediction, and this is not a month I have a ton of confidence in, I'm going to go Xbox Series first. Then PS5 and then Switch. And that could be totally wrong. This is the least confident I've been. But I don't know, guys. I think there's a chance. PS5, I was very confident of Xbox Series being ahead of PS5 all month till towards the end of the month. Sony got a lot of restocks right at the end of July. Like a lot. But I still think Xbox had more. I think there was still more Series X this month. But that's my bold prediction. But I'm not super confident in that, to be honest with you, at all. But that's my bold prediction. Okay, dude, I gotta stop. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Randy Norman, I can't stop. I will stop. I will stop. This is, you know what? Randy Norman and then Samuel and then silence. That's it. I'm doing 3 more questions and then I'm done. I'm sorry. These are it. I can't stop because it's been so good today, but these are the last 3 questions. Okay? I have to give myself an out or I'm going to just keep going. I have to stop. I've been going for a long time. Okay. Randy, Samuel, silence them out. Randy, do you agree with my prediction on Xbox's fiscal year? Also, what do your Xbox will have in the second half of the year in 2023? Oh, what was the first part? Oh, I believe that the 4 fiscal quarters of 2023 for Xbox will be some of their best. They will have tons of first-party games, Starfield, Redfall, Forza Motorsport, Call of Duty, Diablo, Minecraft. All right, that's just the first half. Yeah, Randy, next year will probably be the biggest year ever in the history of Xbox, if Activision goes through. If we're going to assume that Activision does get acquired, I don't see how next year can't be the biggest year ever in Xbox history for both revenue and profit. Because it already was, even without Activision Blizzard, I mean, people forget last year was like the best year ever for Xbox. I know that might sound like hard to like believe and stuff with shortage, but it was literally the biggest year in Xbox history was last year. So, and that was without Activision Blizzard. If Activision Blizzard gets acquired, the amount that your revenue increases just by default and the amount that your profit is going to increase just by default with new Call of Duty games on the market, new Overwatch games on the market, and Diablo next year, plus those first-party games, there's just no way it's not. Yeah, Randy, I agree. Next year should be the biggest year ever in Xbox history. Now, hardware sales, I don't know. I don't know that we're necessarily saying next year will be the best year ever for Xbox hardware sales. We'll have to see how that goes. But in terms of revenue and profit margins, yes, Randy, next year should be the biggest year ever in Xbox history. It'd be pretty shocking for it to miss it if we're working under the assumption Activision Blizzard is part of Microsoft next year. And then Samuel, great friend of mine. Great to see you, Samuel, in the chat. I always love seeing you here, buddy. Shout out to Samuel. He's awesome. Benji, hope you've been well. I've been pretty good, actually. I've been lifting weights again, and it's so good. Do you have an early thoughts on Bayonetta 3 sales performance? I think it probably will be the best-selling Bayonetta game ever, which isn't a super high bar, right? We know Bayonetta 1 and Bayonetta 2, both really liked games, beloved, actually, I'd say. But both were fairly niche, right? These aren't games that sell 10 million copies. So I think that Bayonetta 3 being like kind of like the flagship hardcore game for Nintendo this year, right? In the holiday season. Yes, they've got stuff like Pokemon, which a lot of hardcore gamers are going to buy. But you know what I mean? Like, Bayonetta 3 right now is positioned as like that core gamer game leading into the holidays into October. And so many people, like I said, beloved Bayonetta 1 and 2, and there's been so much wait for this game. I don't know about exact units, Samuel, but I think that this will be the biggest Bayonetta game. I really do think so. As long as it's good, unless it's trash. But as long as it's good, I think it'll be the biggest Bayonetta title. And then Silence PP7 with the last question. Benji, legendary chat today, everyone. Do you think there's any truth to the rumors of EA also developing an Iron Man game? And is there any way it wouldn't incorporate some of the DNA of Anthem? Oh, that is a good question. Wow. Never even thought about that. Should it be open world or linear? Do I think there's any truth to it? Yes. Especially if they're already making a Black Panther game. And now there's reports coming out from both Jeff Grubb and Tom Henderson that there is another Marvel game too. Now, to be clear, Grubb didn't say it was Iron Man. He just said there's another single-player game coming. That's Marvel. And Tom Henderson said he has heard there's a Marvel game as well. But he did caution, so just to be clear to everyone, he did caution that the Iron Man part is heavily rumor. So he's not declaring it is Iron Man. Tom Henderson was saying, hey, I heard this could be Iron Man, but take the Iron Man part with a grain of salt. But both of them are hearing there's another Marvel game. I think given you have both Grubb and Henderson, two different people saying they're hearing another Marvel game's coming, and we know a Black Panther, it makes sense. Iron Man wouldn't surprise me. Iron Man would be one of the best fits for a game. Yeah, I mean, dude shoots lasers, flies around. I mean, sounds like a lot of fun. Interesting wrinkle here, though, sounds, yeah, dude, you would almost think that they would take some of that Anthem technology, right? Obviously, we don't know that it would be BioWare making this game. I'm kind of doubtful considering they have both Dragon Age and Mass Effect on the way. So I'm feeling this is probably someone besides BioWare, but they own BioWare, so they own the tech that went behind Anthem. And for as much as people disliked Anthem, the one common thing I always heard from people that played Anthem, they were like, dude, it does give you, the one thing I can say, it does give you a little bit of that Iron Man fantasy of feeling the flying. So Silence, I could use them if they're doing this. I could see them using some of that tech because it was already developed. And I don't think it'll play like in terms of like a service game, but I could totally see them reusing some of that technology and learning lessons that they had from Anthem on how to do the flying. Yeah, okay. All right, everyone, I got to call it there. Thank you for a legendary chat. I wish I could have got to the rest of your guys' stuff. I loved this chat today. I always like doing the chats, but I feel like this one was just, A+. The questions were fire. We had some great topics, lots of numbers, data. It was a good one, guys. Good. I loved this chat. So subscribe to my channel if you're not already. We do one of these chats every single week. We will be back next week. Follow me on Twitter if you're not already. I'm sure if you're here, you more than likely do since my Twitter's so much bigger. But follow me in case you're catching this VOD later. And yeah, I think everything else is good. Thanks for having a great chat. Thanks for uplifting my spirits. Thanks for making me feel great. Thanks for being awesome. Love you guys. Stay safe. Play some games. And I will catch you either next week here on YouTube or I will see you on Twitter here very soon. Have a great day or night, everyone. You guys are amazing. Bye. Bye, 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 bye.